Hey, everybody, welcome to Region News again. We've got Doug Houghton. He's a director of channels at Alkira, and they're doing some, I believe, infrastructure in the as a service, and we're going to talk about how AI fits into all that stuff as usual, and figure out how their go-to-market channel strategy, which is 100%, I believe, is going for them. Doug, first of all, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on the show, Julian. It's nice to make your acquaintance, and I look forward to the discussion.
My pleasure. Let's dig into this. So, first of all, let's talk about Alkira. What do you guys do?
Alkira is a network infrastructure as a service provider. What does that mean? You say that, and I think people will drift on you. So, to be a bit more specific, we provide networking as a service. The infrastructure that we extend to our customers is the infrastructure from cloud. So, we build a cloud exchange point, or what I typically think of as just an exchange point, and we bring customer traffic, WAN side traffic, to a virtual port on that exchange point across 165 public POPs and distribute it through automated routing, segmentation, advanced routing techniques across the globe. One of our bigger use cases is a backbone as a service. If you have an organization that wants to get into China and out of China, depending on their geopolitical disposition, they take the username and password they get from us, construct or etch a sketch their network together within an hour, and we build networks within an hour, global networks with thousands of nodes easily within the day. If they want to get in and out of China and they don't want necessarily a contractual obligation with either Azure, AWS, or AliCloud or Tencent, they'll use an infrastructure like ours where they're effectively, it's a SaaS app that we deliver. They log in, they build their network, they get the traffic in and out of China. And we see use cases all over the globe, but specifically in China, just cross-border connectivity and trying to get out of China. And it's American companies or North American companies with infrastructure, manufacturing facilities, personnel in China. And so they use a username and a password. They bring the China nodes online, attach it to the virtual port on the CXP, and then they've got global connectivity in China and outside of China without the effort and the certifications that go along with being in China, etc. Further, they can take all the services they currently have in their network that are on-prem, virtualize them, and put them inside of our stack. So if they're a Palo shop, Fortinet, Checkpoint, Cisco, if they're an Infoblox shop, if they're a Zscaler shop, if they're a F5 shop, they can take all those services and put them into our stack as a virtual network function. So now, not only do you have access around the globe, instantaneous access, but you can use existing services, virtualize them, and lower your total cost of ownership and the effort it takes to implement and operate those services. Um, our customers seem to be the ones that have very complex networks, very large networks, and who are looking for solutions that they can operate at a lower total cost of ownership
Hmm.
and no complexity, right? That's the name of the game. As we've moved forward into this space, we started 6 years ago, 7 years ago, excuse me, in 2018, got to market in 2020. Our first sort of customers, like all customers and in startups, contributed to not only functionality, but usability, workflows, all of that. And we take that feedback and incorporate that into the solution so that the folks who employ our solution have largely shaped it as well. And not only are we very proud of that, but it's also very valuable to us to receive that feedback, get that feedback, and
Hmm.
accommodate their needs. All right, I've been
Yeah.
blabbing. Go ahead, ask
So,
us.
so Doug, when you know, without your solution,
Mhm.
what does workload look like for these
That's
companies? I mean, we hear AWS got the whole
right.
worldwide network, and we've got the large public clouds. What does the world look like for these companies without an organization like yourselves?
Okay, well, so I mean, if let's think about traditional or legacy networking, right? There's usually a network stack. You've got a firewall switch and a router, and that's sitting on-prem. And then you've got a data center. and you connect your on-prem resources or assets to the data center assets. And then you go through this peering and routing and configuring and all of that, right? And we've been doing that for a long time,
Mm,
traditional networking. And then you've got all sorts of different transport that you contract with the providers. Sometimes the service provider owns the infrastructure and provides you with your PE, and then sometimes you own the infrastructure. Well, that is absolutely, sort of very solid old school legacy
mm,
networking, but it doesn't really account for the applications that are inside of the cloud. So the majority of net new digital transformation projects involve some business critical application that exists in GCP, AWS, Azure, or wherever,
mm.
whatever cloud it is,
Right.
right? So you need an easy way to connect those on-prem stacks, those on-prem nodes, assets, whatever you want to call them, to your cloud applications, because your users are trying to get to Salesforce, Office 365, or some other SaaS app that's critical to how they do business every day. So
Mm,
now, in the case of AWS, because you mentioned, I'll take it up, right? AWS has a language that it speaks. Let's refer to it as a native networking construct. GCP has an entirely different native networking
mm,
construct, as does OCI, as does Tencent, Ali Cloud, IBM Cloud, Azure, what have you. They're all different languages. And what we do is we overlay all public cloud. It's a routed overlay, and we consolidate those those networks in and with a single language, right? So I often think about it as it's, we're a translator for all of the different native networking languages that exist on-prem or in the cloud. But in practice, getting the customer without any complexity securely to the business application that they need to use for their job is the name of the game. And we've taken the complexity out of that, removed the risk, and not all of the risk, of course, but made sure that that connectivity is secure globally, and given them an absolute easy way to do that, which is they can use what they currently have in their infrastructure from a router, firewall, or switch perspective. They can recycle that, repurpose it. They can get to us via IPsec, Direct Connect Express Route, Google Interconnect Circuit. We can take any SD-WAN fabric and terminate it on the virtual port, MPLS, and Akamai Prolexic fabric. Bring us a circuit from whatever device that creates the tunnel, land it on our virtual port on the CXP, which is deployed in an active-active HA fashion globally, and then you really don't have to worry about anything else. I mean, the traffic is going to get from Hong Kong to San Francisco and back to Hong Kong after it collects that AI workload that it wants in, just as fast as I said it. There's really no
mm. I see.
configuration that's going on.
So at the end of the day, right? I mean, all these companies like AWS and so on, they have this massive infrastructure, right? And you could figure this out if you had the time, patience, and energy and money to do it. But at the end of the day,
Right.
it's not easy to say the
No.
least, and it'll probably, I'm assuming, it'll take a little micro army to monitor that and put it all together. So you're really cutting to the chase and getting them to where they need to be faster.
Yeah.
Um, kind of in just brief outcomes, if you've got any data on it, but with your solution, without your solution,
Mhm.
these humans are going to save X percentage of their time in getting up and running. Is there a number that you have seen so far?
Yeah, we, along with Nemurdes, did some research in our own client base, our own client portfolio, customer portfolio. So the savings is, depending on which services in the network that you're going to replace, the actual total cost of ownership savings is anywhere from 40 to 70%.
Wow.
That's just in hard costs. In
Mm,
day two FTE, the labor that you save is significant, right? Because it doesn't take an army of individuals to configure a network. It's already configured. You log in and you start, sort of drawing your network out, dragging and dropping, and you're done in 15 to 20 minutes, right? My 12-year-old can configure our
mm,
solution, right?
mm,
And it's advanced routing and it's very complex underneath the hood. But in an effort to normalize all those communications between
mm,
those different domain spaces and consolidate them, we've had to. um, simplify the operational layer while the sausage is effectively being made underneath, right? So we abstract all of we use the cloud underlay as our infrastructure effectively. So their transit in between cloud and between all their sites, between all the different POPs is something that we ride on top of. And that's, we've built a management control orchestration plane that is advanced, it's effectively what we make is like a router on
Mm.
steroids, right? It's a software-defined construct that exists inside of the cloud, every AZ, every region that you could want as a customer. So the savings, the day two operational savings is probably, I think that's what you're driving at, or what you were specifically asking about. It's significant. You don't need that whole army of people to do it. But time to value is also significantly improved, right? You've got
Mm.
a team of people that used to construct the network, and then you bring your AWS, Azure, GCP team in to do and build all those automations. The thing about the cloud is as soon as you open the front door of the cloud, you've got in AWS at least to wrestle with the transit gateway, which
Mm.
is kind of their service router in and out of the cloud. What we've done is we've taken the transit gateway, we've automated it, and then obfuscated it from our customers. So it's in the middle of our stack. You're still, doing all that. You still have the transit gateway in your environment. It's just we've automated it all. So you don't need to route peer and configure with it every availability zone, every region to slow you down. Now, keep in mind, AWS is just one example. There are lots of clouds out there, and all of those service routers that sit at the edge of those clouds as transit gateways, the VNet gateway in Azure, those things are different. They speak different languages too, and doing all of that work slows our customers down.
Mm.
The flip side of this, and the whole, kind of the mission is to free people up to go do other things like AI,
Mm.
right? So I often equate AI to a really fancy car or something, right? You're driving your Ferrari or your GT3 down the road, and you're on a traditional road, you're going to run into potholes, you're going to run into congestion, you're going to run into all sorts of impediments that restrict the free flow of traffic, and ruin your rims and ding your sidewall, whatever, right?
Mm.
It's a road that's a legacy road, like every single road. Um, when you have an opportunity to reimagine networking infrastructure, why not make the road smooth as glass so that you can race that Ferrari? Why not make you the only car on the road, right? Securely sort of encapsulated in an L3 isolated routing table segment, right? Which we're sort of natively segmented. So I like the idea of AI as a car model. I know it's a weak it's a weak analogy, but
Everybody's got their opinion, man. Yeah.
right, right. So like if I see emerging use cases in AI, and you've got, the largest AI providers are whom? They're
Mm.
AWS, Azure, and GCP, right? And that's if those aren't the providers of the AI, that's where the AI provider is keeping their compute,
Yeah.
right? And the application itself. So you have to get to the VPC, the VNet, the VCN, or what have you. How do you do so on that smooth road in your very fast car? It's like,
Mm.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
driving a car on a fantastic road where you can just
I get
absolutely,
it.
yeah.
So, I mean, look, I mean, as the world shifts, right, to AI and
Hmm.
leveraging AI and whatever journey they're all embarking upon, which we
Yeah,
don't even know where that journey is actually headed yet. Could change tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We'll see.
it
Um,
will.
but the reality is that they need to have some way, to kind of like execute their AI strategy on, right? And the
Hmm.
reality is that if it's complicated to sort of build out the infrastructure to handle whatever it is that you want to handle, all right,
Right.
that's an impediment, right? I mean, it's gonna slow things up, et cetera, et cetera. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, not only do we want to implement, the worldwide infrastructure, but we also want to, do it in some kind of a secure way, because we just
Yeah.
don't want to, just do it. All right. And
Yeah.
then realize, oh my goodness, we got some problems. Talk to me about just a little bit about the security aspects that you've baked into your infrastructure. So you could tell someone, hey, you know what? If you're playing with us, we've got those that hardening security for you. So we're worrying about that. So you don't have to worry about that because, the big public clouds, if you read the fine print, you're sort of on your own a little bit, right? How do you answer that?
Thanks for the question. It's a good one. So I'll just start, when we began, as I mentioned earlier, went to all of our customers and asked them what was important, asked them for feedback. We're trying to solve for, sort of normalizing communications across multiple domain spaces, right? So the first thing on every one of our customers' minds is security, and this is what keeps people up at night. So we've got a holistic approach, but let's start with what's native to the platform. And then I'll talk a little bit about an open ecosystem approach as well. Native to the platform, every packet that enters the Alkira virtual port on the CXP and transits to wherever it's going is isolated in its own segment, its own VRF. Just it's got its own routing table, L3 routing table, right?
Mm,
So that keeps all of our customers, all of our Alkira customers within their audit spec from a compliance and regulatory obligation perspective.
mm,
So healthcare loves us, big financial loves us, because we solve that problem immediately, right? We've got big financials who borrow money from one another. We've got other financial entities that communicate with their partners. So their partners are joining their corporate network. Well, the problem with that is, this is a wholly separate entity. You don't know what's coming in. But if they're doing it in a VRF or in a segment, right, they can do so securely. And then if by policy is another component of our solution, the security natively embedded in our solution, if you construct a policy that says that this partner, this other bank, or this doctor that's accessing the hospital for patient information or what have you, but is in a separate practice, if they're coming in inside of a secure segment, then they meet their compliance and regulatory obligations. A point of sale machine, for instance, where you're going to process PCI information, that needs to be encapsulated in an L3 isolated routing table segment. Cool. And then by
mm,
policy, you can say, but I don't need that point of sale machine to go to the printers. I don't need that point of sale machine to go to the HR, application that we're running or anything like that. So you develop a policy that says, hey, this partner or this doctor or this retail machine that's sitting at one of the sites can access these resources, but not these application resources, right? So
mm,
policy is kind of the second leg natively. And third is we do microsegmentation through tagging, right? The idea of putting a smaller tunnel inside of an already isolated L3 routing table so that you have a micro segment end to end, just like our macro segments are end to end as well. So I've got a really good native approach. But, and based on the feedback that we took and continue to take from our customers, it was important for them to be able to use the firewalls and other security appliances, DDI, so DHCP, DNS, and IPAM, inside of their, the stuff they already had in their
mm,
stack in this, new
mm,
network that
mm,
they were constructing with Alkira. So we take the Palo, Fortinet, Checkpoint, and Cisco firewalls, virtualize them, and then put them in the middle of or the customer does, in the middle of our stack. Now, what's cool about that is we talk back to Panorama, to FortiManager, to SMS with Checkpoint, to Firepower with Cisco, right? For Infoblox, we do DDI, IPAM, DDI through them, IPAM, DNS, and DHCP, as I mentioned. Infoblox has, the same thing. We virtualize it. It's a virtual network function that we put in the middle of our stack. Same with F5 for load balancing, right? Same with Zscaler. The Those are virtual network functions that our customers already had in their environment that they can put in the middle of our stack. So the packet originates in Shanghai and travels to the Azure instance in mainland, egresses out of China on its way to Dallas, Texas, or what have you. It's not only in a segment and perhaps a microsegment, but in the middle of our stack, it passes through that Palo on its way to its final destination. We take and our customers put the IP address in of the Panorama server, which is the orchestrator for the Palo firewall. And then they continue to use and employ the same workflow that they have all along. So not, this is a cool thing about it. And cool is the technical term, by the way. The cool thing about it is their workflow doesn't change at
Mm.
all. They're still working in Panorama. They're still configuring policy about who can talk to what and when. If you didn't tell them that the form factor of the firewall had changed to just a virtual network function, they may not know, right? So our approach to security is the native three items that I talked about, right? And also whatever our customer deems is really important for their business
Mm.
critical applications and to keep them secure out in the wild. Yeah,
Smart way to do it, man. It's kind of like allowing them to, have their cake and eat it too, right? I mean, you don't want to disrupt people's and make them change the way they're doing business because
agreed.
when something hits the fan, you know who they're going to blame, Doug. They're coming for you.
Yes, sir. And it's the great thing about being so open. And it's also the great thing with working with Amr and Atif Khan, Amr and Atif were responsible, or two-thirds of the founding team at Viptela as well. And so
Mm.
they have a long history, a long networking history, Cisco and other places as well. And when they set out in 2012 to build Viptela, they really sort of pioneered the software-defined wide area networking. The lessons and the learnings that we took from, and I worked there as well, the lessons that we took have really shaped from the Viptela, which was then in May of 17 acquired by Cisco. We learned a lot about, what was important to our customers, but the biggest thing is to go ask them what they needed and what problems they needed, that were really keeping them up at night and that needed to be solved. And so we continue to do that, and it continues to inform how we go to market, and the solution we bring to solve
Makes a
that.
lot of sense, especially these days with it's complicated. People, just even having hardware delivered
Right,
in multiple countries is a nightmare, and people
right.
just don't like. You have a customer with working in 50 countries. Well, you try
Mhm.
to deliver a notebook, to each one of these people. I mean, the pricing is different, the tariffs are different, the
Indeed.
distribution is different, the currencies are different. It's incredible the amount of logistic that goes into just delivering
Right,
hardware, right?
right.
And now with software, with everyone protecting data sovereignty and
Mhm.
cybersecurity, it's not for the faint of heart, I would say. But it's great that these ways are, things that you guys are doing is helping facilitate this. Let's talk a bit about wrapping this up with the channel. So it
Sure,
seems like you're 100% channel.
we are.
Um, why and what's your thoughts on how you guys are scaling that?
So, along with my technical counterpart, David Klebanoff, who I worked at Viptela and Cisco as well, we started the channel in April of 22. And um, the, my absolute first ask, and it was sort of a condition of taking the role, was, hey, we have to be 100% channel, because if you're not 100% channel, you're not really a channel company, in my opinion, right?
Yeah,
And you've probably heard that.
I agree.
It's it's such a significant
Channel first,
differentiator.
channel only, channel maybe, channel sometimes, channel friendly.
Right.
Many
I
ways to
know
play the
if
game.
I go to my partners, Presidio, Trace3, Ahead, CDW, and I tell them, well, these five deals I'm absolutely going to run through you guys, but this last one's too important. That doesn't play.
Mm.
That doesn't, in my opinion, that just kills my credibility, right? So it became important early on to establish that we were 100% channel. Now, there's of course some pain that goes along with that, right? The one, we do have a direct sales staff, and we were until April of 22. sort of a mixed thing. But then we started building out our channel. And so my first sort of request to the team, the greater team, all of us at Alkira was, listen, especially if you're on the go-to-market side, I said, everybody here is a channel account manager,
Mm,
right? The way that we go to market needs to always have and always involve a partner. And the purpose, of making that statement was to gauge their buy-in into, to ensure they understood the value and scale channel brings to a business like ours. Like we're still 150 people. We're punching way above our weight, and it's largely thanks to those partners and the other 145 partners that we have, right? They help us scale. So I originally went to the team, asked if everybody was down with the strategy. Everybody, yes, said yes. And then I really worked with the direct sales staff and direct sales leadership staff to make sure that all of the opportunities that we source ran at least through our channel partners, even if they didn't source it, right? So we would do a lot of channel out stuff where we're pushing deals to those partners. It helps build the business. It tells them we're serious about the channel, right? It's a good signal to the market as well. You know, and I mean, last year, our channel partners contributed more than 70% of the net new logos that were sourced, right? And closed at Alkira. So the program is working. We've had year-over-year growth of over 100%, right? In new logos and in revenue. And the program is working. I'm a huge believer um, that if you can get everybody pulling the rope in the same direction, it'll ultimately work out. Okay, that's all, I think interesting. Um, there was another thing that was going on as we were building the channel, and that, you have the cloud marketplaces out there. And the cloud marketplaces, remember when I started, AWS didn't have a CPPO yet, and there was no MPO at Azure, and Google didn't have a reseller agreement, right? Those marketplaces were replacing the distributors,
mm,
and not replacing so much as competing with the distributors out there. And so the 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 value partners, the resellers who provide engineering resources and who provide services, the big shops out there were, I think there was some, do we take and I mean, there's all sorts of service opportunities when you get into cloud, right?
mm,
You can do all sorts of Terraform for your customers. You can automate services. You can get them to the VPC. You can build landing zones. You can help them with application refactoring. You can do these digital transformations that are so cool.
mm,
Okay, that's great. But if, the cloud marketplace is going to replace all of that and the AWS is going to go sell to my customer and they have C-level relationships at my customer as well, am I really not just now, if I'm, XYZ VAR, am I not just competing with those cloud marketplaces? So there was sort of an inconsistent, not a competitive overlap there.
mm,
Uh, the disties and the VARs, the disties bring the VARs, the cloud marketplace, the customers are retiring their spend. They can get credits, migration assistance credits, and all that things. And AWS uses that leverage to sort of reduce their cost of goods sold. And I get it. Everybody's in business, I guess. Uh, Not I guess, I know, to make money. Some of us are a bit more altruistic than that, but we still want to make money and help solve problems. So the lock-in that was going on with those early marketplace deals really impacted I think the value-added resale landscape and the service provider land, all of it, right? It just changed the demand. And cloud had sort of an interesting approach and go to market. I think there must have been sort of a massive outcry because then all of a sudden the CPPO, the MPO, and once, the cloud players are like an oligarchy,
Mm.
right? They all sort of cheat at the same time. Have you ever looked at sort of pricing it from the cloud? It's
They're on the
really,
call. They have the red phone with each
yeah.
other or something,
They do.
man.
They have a bat phone, right, where they call
Yeah,
one another and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna get this amount for egress. I'm gonna get that." Now, I know I'm just being facetious, and I'll
I
probably,
know.
hopefully, I won't get sued for that, but it
Well,
is kind of an interesting dynamic.
yeah. But
Anyway.
look, it's the challenge is everybody is trying to rally for positioning, right?
Hmm.
And you got these 800-pound gorillas who sort of understand what each person is doing, right? They
Yeah.
understand what every other person is doing at a DNA level. So they're just trying to one up each other. You got this. Well, what about that? What about this? Oh, they haven't thought about this yet. But once we announce it within 24 hours, they'll have it too. So it's a bit of a
Right.
challenge, right? The
Yeah.
reality today is that now we're sprinkling AI into the game, and even the folks that is involved in it is saying, "Wait a minute, man, we don't even control AI really. We don't know where it's going to go. And there's new players coming in, right? At an alarming rate, I want to add, and an accelerated rate that seems to be mind-boggling.
Yes.
And so we've got to digest like how this headwind is going to impact everything we're doing. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the channel is has another headwind that they have to
Mhm.
deal with. As a matter of fact, Doug, if you know back in the Cisco days and even today, right? Can you imagine 5, 6 years ago the amount of workload that's been thrown in the shoulders of channel partners, these MSPs and VARs? I mean, we didn't think about compliance really. We didn't really think about AI. We didn't really, cybersecurity was there, but it was something, on the
Emerging.
side.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now it's like if you're not firing on all cylinders, right? Which
Mhm.
customer is going to want to hang with you? All
Right.
right. What is your stickiness? And
Right.
as if that was not enough, all right. Today's channel partner need to be so in tune with the AI strategy of their customers
Yeah.
that if they're not, I doubt that they're even going to survive the future because the AI is really driving where that customer is headed.
Hmm.
And it's not even technology anymore. It's like the AI is driving where they're headed. And so you need to be, you need to have a seat in that AI car
Hmm.
as it drives because, it's, let's assume this AI car is a bumper car at the moment
Hmm.
because nobody really knows how to drive that car. So it's bumping around and making lots of mistakes and crazy things. And so, but you need to have a seat
Yeah.
in that AI, discussion. Otherwise, you are leading from behind, way behind. And there's, I fear that AI may actually lead the AI journey of these companies or AI consultants. So the challenge is actually, increasing
Hmm.
for the channel community. So bringing solutions that can actually remove burdens
Hmm.
from their from
Yeah.
these customers, right?
Right.
Is at the end of the day, it's what us mere mortals need to be doing. Meanwhile, we're doing this. We have to keep an eye on where people are headed with AI. And the reality is that infrastructures and solutions like you're selling, it's just makes a lot of sense. Nobody wants to build this stuff,
No.
right? It's too complicated. It requires an army. Nobody wants lock-in. I've never heard of a company saying, I love lock-in. Nobody wants to be locked into anybody. And once you peel back the onion and you look at the global world, all things being equal these days with the crazy things that's happening in the global world with tariffs and so on,
Yeah.
the world will continue. And in 3, 4, 5 years from now, this will nothing be but a memory. And the challenge is people will continue to do business, and you do need to have that infrastructure humming because
Right.
I believe it's going to be required more of that, not less of it, because we're still we're transacting crazy online.
Hmm.
Um, they're more, as a matter of fact, I was chatting with some other folks about the non-human identities being now like 90% of the traffic. So now things are talking to things, right?
Yes.
And AI agents are going to be talking to AI agents, and your agent's going to talk to my agent, and my agent's going to talk to your agent, and so forth. So the human aspect is being, I don't know, I don't want to say marginalized, but it's being kind of replaced by this machine to machine
Right.
type communications. And that's really what the network's all about, right? It's about making sure that whatever it is you want to, communicate between an API to an API, machine to a machine, or agent to an agent,
Right.
it better be seamless, better
And
be
secure.
secure, and it better be now,
Right.
and so it seems like that's where you guys are doing.
We saw a use case start to emerge a couple of years ago. It's not AI specific, but people really started to take BigQuery out of GCP and
Mm,
say, this is something I'm going to build my data strategy around. That it's a fantastic solution. And so we just had like people coming out of the woodwork. How, if I want to front end my application inside of AWS, Azure, GCP, or wherever, but yet connected to the BigQuery application in GCP, how can I do that?
mm,
Right. And how can I do it securely? And so one of the things, and it's that machine to machine, right? It's that front end of that app looking for its database.
mm,
So you're crossing clouds, right? You're egressing out of AWS or Azure to get to GCP.
mm,
And that traffic may go onto a layer two private circuit, a direct connect interconnect, or a express route. It could be MPLS, but it could also egress over internet,
mm,
right? So you've got the front end of the application going east-west across cloud boundaries to get to the database inside of GCP. How do you secure that traffic? How do you normalize those comms? And how do you really operationalize that? And that's when you talk to the cyber guys and the security leads and the CISOs and stuff like that, that's what they're like,
mm,
holy moly. One, you've got this emerging, evolving, uh, I think AI is going to, artificial intelligence is going to, we're doing AI ops, right? So if you want to talk to our AI ops, NIA is what we call it. If you want to know, if you want to search our wiki, if you want to look through all the existing data that we have about problems and resolutions, and NIA will help you. And so you can kind of self-serve, right? And as that technology grows and becomes more automated, and Amr and I were having an interesting discussion recently about, you can take all the code and you can train your AI on all these data sets and stuff like that, but you're still going to find bugs in that code. And
mm,
doesn't that really become the proof point for remediation? Where you begin? Because I think in a world of worlds, when we move 5, 10 years in, AI will operationalize and remediate a lot of our issues, where we're using Wireshark right now and we're looking at logs and we're doing all of this troubleshooting,
mm,
and it's a fire drill every single time. And a lot of that has been remediated by Alkira because we're just, we deliver this as a service. It's in production all the time, and
mm,
we've always up, right? So like during the CrowdStrike outage, this is a great one. During CrowdStrike, you know, a lot like SD-WAN, what we did at Viptela, Alkira has a decoupled control from data plane, right? It's important to keep the brain outside of the forwarding plane,
mm,
because if the brain sort of spits up or whatever, or the forwarding plane spits up, you can sort of impact either of those two
mhm.
entities. Okay, so during CrowdStrike, one, I had no idea how ubiquitous CrowdStrike was. They're everywhere. And good on them for building such an
Mm,
amazing business, right?
mm,
But it's literally everywhere. So I'm driving across the country with my wife, and we are moving out to California, and I couldn't use my credit card at a point of sale machine at a gas station. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then it's like super early in the morning. I start trying to figure out what's going on. And I asked the attendant, and she said, well, they've been down. There's some sort of internet outage. And I'm like, that's as specific as she got. So I start calling around and stuff like that. I am able to access Google News, and I discovered that there's this fairly widespread internet outage. And we've all sort of unpacked and peeled back the onion, as you said earlier, and done the root cause on what was going on with CrowdStrike. And it is what it is. But we didn't go down,
mm,
not at all. And what we called all of our customers, and we said, hey, we want to ensure that not only are you up, but for a small subset of our customers, we asked them not to make any orchestration changes in the control plane. The forwarding plane continued to forward, and we were able to automatically route around the Azure instances that were affected and impacted. But I thought, I'm freaking out. I'm calling support, I'm our own support and stuff like that. Are we up? Are we up? It's one of those things that's an existential threat when you're a startup and you're only 5 years old or whatever. So I'm happy to report that we didn't go down. None of our customers went down. And we were able to sort of circumnavigate that just because it's an elastic, extensible tenancy. You log in with your
It
username and
actually proves,
password, it
Doug,
moves.
why these systems need to be separate yet work together.
Right,
Because if we're all connected under one umbrella, all right, and something hits a fan, well,
right,
the impact is just. I didn't even know what the net impact of for that outage was.
right.
But when airlines can't ship people, somebody's going to get hurt. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a challenge, and the cost. I don't even. Has anybody done the math yet on what that has cost planet Earth?
Oh, I don't know if
I don't
anybody's
know. I
enough
think
to
we're
try to
scared to
calculate
probably
that. I
know.
do know that Delta, like the passengers in their top of
Yeah,
the stack passengers, a bunch of those folks just got super pissed off and left Delta altogether.
yeah,
And Delta's a great airline,
yeah.
right? And for them to be impacted by this and lose their top shelf customers is the real cost of the incident,
It's a
right?
huge cost. So
Yeah.
I wonder. I think the math has gone astronomical, and apparently the central bank of Brazil just got hit for 100 million from an insider threat,
Ooh.
and I'm like, huh? Well, nothing surprises me anymore, which is actually surprising me because I'm kind of like the song "Comfortably Numb." You
Wait,
know,
you're surprised that you're no longer surprised?
yeah, I'm surprised. I'm no longer surprised. Like if
Interesting.
someone says, something crazy happened, I go, yeah, that seems about right.
Right.
It could have been worse, is what I always say these days.
Hmm.
It was 100 million. At least it's not 200 million,
Right.
right? So it's
Exactly.
kind of like we're getting comfortably numb, but man, it looks like you guys are doing some heavy lifting over there, and great that you guys are trying to figure out how these things work. Because I think the folks out there, these companies responsible for their network and infrastructure,
Mhm.
they're sort of overtaxed a little bit. I just feel like as a human in the world doing all this tech stuff, I
Right.
think they may be feeling for the first time overwhelmed. um, I don't want to say underappreciated, but overwhelmed, and I'm not sure how humans can kind of get back to like living a little bit happier. Maybe some are, but in general, with cyber attacks happening all the time, and it just
Hmm.
seems like a lot of things that people got to worry about.
Yeah.
So when you remove, big things
Hmm.
from them, I just could see the face of these network folks going, "Wow,
Yeah.
one less thing. I can actually leave tonight, go home and spend a weekend and have some fun." So reality is it's a complex world we're living in. I don't know if it's getting less complicated. I'm hoping AI can kind of bridge some of the gaps and make it less complicated. But then I worry about how AI is going to impact, people's and jobs. And we were seeing layoffs and all these things happening already. And we can talk all we want to talk about people having the ability to do more meaningful things,
Hmm.
but I was asked, like, what are those meaningful things will be? Is it playing golf? Are we going to pay people to play golf? What are the things they're going to do if they're not doing what they're doing right now? And do we have enough bodies? But man, we could go down this rabbit hole and spend a couple of decades trying to figure it out. Before then, AI is super past us, and you and I are being replaced by some deep fake robot,
Hmm.
and the game is over. But we shall see.
I think it's
Um,
an excellent time to be alive. I really
uh,
do, and I'm really curious about what's going to happen. I will say one of the great things about our solution, Alkira, is the network, the day two operational liability that the network engineer used to have, being up at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning trying to get
yeah,
something into production before it starts Monday work. That goes away, right? We deliver this as
it's
a
huge.
service, and it's a really big deal. Our customers tell us that's one of the greatest things that they get. That it's that worry that goes away. It's missing football games and birthday parties and stuff like that. All of that goes away. On the bigger topic, AI is a juggernaut. It will continue to move forward as it continues to prove itself, but it's only as good as you feed it,
Mm,
right? The data sets that we're training our AI on, um, you know, uh, when we train Nia, it's on the knowledge that we have internally. It's on our wiki, it's on all the data, it's on all the use cases, it's on all of the support cases, it's on everything. I, it will continue to provide value to our customers and to us internally. And as long as we use that as sort of our template, it's when, you train it on the internet. Like
mm,
what value is that going to be, right? Like it's not the Library of Congress, it's a bunch of
mm,
hate speech, that's been encapsulated in a digital format. Okay, that's fine. I don't want my AI to be a fascist or
mm,
et cetera. So we'll have to see. The governance,
mm,
like all things, is going to be important, I think. How we
mm.
train, what we train it on, and the data is the real value, right?
Well,
Um,
I kind of worry less about that. The way that the data is, it's already sucked in all the data already. I worry when it starts to reinvent data to feed itself, and I worry about the things that I don't know about.
Me too.
Um, and when AI is now having to reinvent data because it's run out of data,
Hmm.
I worry about that. When AI agents decide, well, wait a minute, I need to speak with other AI agents,
Right.
and how do I stop that from happening? Right? Like, what code do I put in there that says do not freaking talk to another AI agent unless you get a specific written letter from my lawyer saying that you can do this? Right? I mean,
Hmm.
how is it not going to bypass this? Right?
Right.
Um, and the challenge is that AI is leveraging other things that we never thought it would leverage, right?
Right.
And I recently wrote an orgam. I did an article, and I showed an orgam of how an organization maybe in the future, and it had like maybe one or two humans at the top, and it had a few humans sparkled in, and then everything else with AI agents to the left and right of it doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And
Right.
you and I both know you can send out an AI agent to a website anymore. So why do you go to the website?
Right.
And so hell, we got more stuff to think about now than we ever did. But look, man, let's leave it there for now. I think that
Mhm.
what you guys are doing is trying to solve this networking problem for a lot of companies, and it's not easy peasy stuff.
Right.
So it's going to help a lot of people. And
Yeah.
what's maybe I'll just ask my last question. What's the future of your company? Where are you guys headed? Mars?
I hope not. There's no oxygen there. There's no atmosphere.
Apparently, but some people say
There
you
may be. It's blue sky on Mars, right? We burn that ice in the core and we're good.
put a
Um,
network there.
yeah, we could put a network to Mars. I'm really interested to see. I think of this as a tenancy. So there's two answers, right? There's the commercial and then there's the technical. Let's do the technical first. I think of this as just an extensible tenancy. Like if I want to go to market for 3 days in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I pop up some sort of whatever business I have, I can do that. I don't need to ship any gear there. I don't need to do anything other than build an IPsec tunnel, right?
Mm,
I like that. The idea of participating in an extensible tenancy and incorporating all of my assets in that tenancy, and then effectively renting it. So I don't have
mm,
any CapEx. I'm only OpEx. That gives us a certain amount of flexibility. Obviously, it also addresses the growth not only in cloud but in distributed applicationing and AI and all of that. So we're primed from a technical perspective to address what's gonna happen in the future from a connectivity perspective because
mm,
we will terminate anything. Bring us a circuit and we'll distribute it across the world, securely. From a commercial perspective, it's interesting. We've seen massive organic growth, right? The Like I said earlier, we're punching above our weight. I'm really curious to see what we can do I feel like I've been shouting from the mountaintop for 4 years about how cool our solution is, again, with that technical term. And then over the last 18 months, people have really started to, hear those echoes because they've got monster customers like S&P or Koch Industries or CETA, right? Just to name a few that run their entire production networks. Like CETA handles 95% of the global airlines.
Hmm.
That's a fairly big network, right? And they're providing Alkira as a service to
It
those.
better not go down.
No kidding, right? So I think we've had this sort of brilliant organic growth, and but I'm really looking forward to the two-person shop because think about it, right? It used to be you had an AWS guy, GCP guy, OCI lady, 10 cent lady, right? And they would come in and they had special skills and you paid them 3.25 to get it done annually and all of that stuff,
Hmm.
right? And I'm not saying dismiss those people. I'm saying repurpose that FTE to do something that's more productive because we've largely automated away all of those different native networking constructs and connected them ubiquitously across the globe. And so the organic growth is really exciting. Seeing us grow 100% year over year is really fun. I'm sure that at some point, like you were suggesting earlier, we're sort of overstimulated, right? Like the whole of the world has too many channels to pay
Hmm.
attention.
Hmm.
It's Slack, it's Teams, it's WebEx, it's phone, it's text, it's email, it's
The
smoke
noise
signal,
is incredible.
it's noise. It's very noisy. I would like to have some quiet, and I think hyper automation and even AI at some point can help us synthesize that noise into a more cogent channel.
Well, I hope you're right, my friend, but I
Me
just
too.
see it's increasing. The noise level is just increasing exponentially. And reality is that it's difficult, even in cybersecurity, man, 6,000 plus vendors.
Yeah.
The average person says, what the hell? Like, who do I pick, the blue one or the green one? And the reality is that there is way, way, way too many options
Mhm.
available. And once AI is sprinkled in, the marketing people takes over. Then everybody sounds like they're an AI expert, right?
Right.
But the challenge is, who do you really believe? I think is where the challenge is right now. But who knows? By the way, what's your
Yeah.
website for them to learn more about the company?
Alkira.com.
There you go.
Alkira.com.
Why the name, by the way? Does it stand for something?
It does. It's a happy place in the sun in Aboriginal. It's an Australian word.
Ah, there you go. So there you
Yeah.
go. Happy plays times, man. So there
Right.
we go. Look, folks, this stuff is a complicated business. All right. And if you've got the right clients, it makes a lot of sense because you can really go in there and look like a superstar. I'm pretty sure the network people are going to love you and it's not going to be a hard sell. But once you've got these organizations like this company trying to figure out how to do some heavy lifting for
Hmm.
you so you can do light lifting later on, I think it kind of makes a lot of sense. Doug, it's been a pleasure. Keep us posted how things are coming along. Sounds
You bet,
great.
Julian. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful.
Cheers.
Have a good day.